Bienvenue à tous. Welcome to Reporters here on France 24. In this edition, a rape and burglary by armed men in a Paris suburb illustrates the reasons why many Jews in France are deciding to pack up and head to Israel. The crime committed by 3 hooded men carrying a pistol and a sawn-off shotgun was motivated solely because they knew the occupants of the house were Jewish. You're Jewish, you've got money, they repeated, as they hit and tied up the couple aged 21 and 19 before raping the young woman. France's President François Hollande has expressed his shock at the clear anti-Semitic nature of the crime. And for many people, it recalls the worst days of Jews being targeted solely for their religion here in France. It's against this context that our film's been made. Our reporters Christophe Dansette and Johan Baudin met Jews who've had enough. They're as French as the Marseillaise, but they're made to feel alien and targeted by resentment that's scarcely hidden in their own communities.
January 2014, and protesters, including members of the far right, gather for a day of anger in the French capital. Six months later, synagogues are attacked amid demonstrations against the war in Gaza. On the eve of Jewish New Year, the government issues its seasonal address to a worried community.
We've witnessed events which haven't been seen for a very long time. Chants of death to the Jews, attacks on synagogues, people attacked in the streets.
It's the first time we've seen this. We've been asking ourselves questions we haven't asked for 70 years.
The situation's prompted a first, the French Prime Minister delivering a speech normally given by the Interior Minister.
Hatred against the Jewish people is hatred against all people. Hatred against France. Hatred against the Republic.
LOIC witnessed some of the fighting firsthand in front of a synagogue on Paris's Rue de la Roquette. He'd come to a prayer for peace in Israel when the situation degenerated. He denies accusations the fighting started with provocation from Jewish youths.
There
was a crowd of about 200 people over there on Boulevard Voltaire. And they came towards the synagogue, throwing stones and bottles at the young people who were protecting it.
Since the summer, there's been a 24-hour police presence outside the building, but for LOIC, it's not enough.
We're not safe here anymore. The police can't be everywhere all the time.
LOIC's solution? To leave France.
Samuel,
where's Noam?
il est où?
Fear reigns too at this Jewish school in the suburbs. In the morning and after lessons finish, parents join the police in keeping watch. Sylvie's decided that from now on she'll be picking up her children, aged 12 and 15. She asked us not to show her face. She's worried about reprisals at work.
Arielle, elle est où?
Take off your kippah, love.
Elle est où, Arielle?
Straight away, she asks her son to remove any religious symbols, something he's not happy with.
But why? I've told you before, for security reasons.
A precaution which comes in the wake of several attacks on Jewish students in the neighbourhood, 2 of them involving Sylvie's son.
They were set upon by people calling them dirty Jews. He had his necklace ripped off, so I'm scared. I don't want him to be alone in the street.
Créteil, just southeast of Paris, is home to France's second largest Jewish community. It numbers 20,000. We meet up again with LOIC, who's lived here for 3 years.
I chose to live here because there's a big Jewish community. I can eat kosher and go to the synagogue.
But in recent years, Créteil too has seen problems.
You see here, somebody wrote dirty Jew. And it's become normal. Nobody even points it out anymore. Nobody notices.
LOIC lives in a tiny flat in one of the town's many new housing developments.
So this is my apartment.
Inside, books and objects which show his affinity with Judaism and Israel.
Here's the prayer book with translation from Hebrew to French.
LOIC's proud of his identity, but has recently decided not to display it in public.
You get unfriendly looks, insults in the metro, the train, the street. You just don't feel safe at all.
In the first 7 months of this year, France's Interior Ministry has counted around 500 anti-Semitic acts and threats, twice as many as during the same period in 2013. This Jewish former police chief has decided to take action. He set up a victim support scheme with a website and emergency phone number. He says anti-Semitism has increased alarmingly of late.
On October 15, 2014, a man of African origin launched into an anti-Semitic tirade. Deaf to the Jews, we are all Mohamed Merah. If I see a Jew, I'll kill him. That was in Bagnolet, east of Paris. Dirty Jew, scum of the earth. You'll see what the Arabs will do, they'll cut your throat. We're worried we're heading for a catastrophe. We mustn't forget that France has seen Jewish children killed just because they're Jewish. There was Ilan Halimi, Sébastien Selam, and the children killed in Toulouse by Merah.
During the interview, a call comes in.
What did they throw?
Paving stones to try and break the window. They tried that. Then they threw a Molotov cocktail and burned the outside of the window.
I'll call right away the head of police.
Okay.
We head for the scene, a kosher restaurant in an upmarket neighbourhood of Paris. The manager remains guarded on the motives behind the attack.
It's the first time we've seen this type of vandalism. And I think it is just vandalism, because we've never had this problem before.
We go to see Sylvie again. Her house is up for sale. She's leaving in search of a better life for herself and her family near Miami.
My dream has always been to live in harmony with everyone. You can't do that here anymore. In the US, I think there's still a future.
Moving across the Atlantic is no easy business. This evening, Sylvie has a video call with her lawyer in America.
I need you to give me information about visas.
Recently, this lawyer's been receiving a lot more business from France. Sylvie's hoping to start her new life next summer. LOIC, meanwhile, is already on his way, fulfilling his aliyah, the name given to a move to Israel by members of the diaspora. A farewell committee awaits him at the airport. It's an emotional experience.
Don't cry. You'll make me cry too.
LOIC's not the only one making the trip to the Holy Land. Israel says 6,000 French Jews have arrived in the first 10 months of 2014. 1,000 more are expected by the end of the year. It's a growing trend, more than twice as many as last year, 4 times as many as in 2012. 5 hours later, and LOIC arrives at Tel Aviv's Ben Gurion airport, welcomed by an official from Israel's Ministry of Integration.
Are you doing your aliyah? What's your name?
LOIC meets other young people in the same situation, and his new life starts with a new name, Liron. The process of becoming Israeli begins right here at the airport, where Liron's met by a civil servant to deal with the paperwork.
Shalom. אני יושב פה.
LOIC?
LOIC.
LOIC.
Your birth certificate and certificate of Jewishness, please.
Within a few minutes, Liron has an Israeli ID card.
Thank you.
Out of the office, Liron meets Jonathan, another young Frenchman.
Didn't you get your money?
Yes, I did. 1,250 shekels.
1,250 shekels, 250 euros. The first instalment of some 3,500 euros Liron will be paid by the Israeli state during his first 6 months here. It's part of a generous package designed to attract Jews from all over the world. including free Hebrew lessons, a year's social security provision and tax breaks. Next stop, an integration centre in Ra'anana, a well-to-do suburb of Tel Aviv. Liron will be living here for the next 6 months with 3 French flatmates. He gets to know his modest new lodgings. So, do you feel at home?
Well, I don't know if I'd really put it like that. It's not great.
Next, Liron meets Lisa, his sports coach under another state-funded scheme. After that, it's 6 months of military service and his integration process will be complete. But the trip to Israel isn't all one-way traffic for France's Jews. Arielle returned to Paris a few months ago for financial reasons.
Hello.
How's it going?
This designer is looking to sell her creations in the capital's boutiques.
You see, I told you, it's for you.
Whoa, it's beautiful.
It's a successful trip. The client buys nearly all of her goods. For Arielle, it's a relief. Back in Israel, business was nothing like as brisk, forcing her to close her shop in Tel Aviv. What's more, after 8 years in the country, she says she never really felt at home.
I didn't manage to learn the social codes and customs, and they're really important. I never felt like I fitted in, so I think I made the right decision to come back.
In the evening, Arielle's son and his girlfriend come to visit.
Good evening, how are you?
This young couple's also returned to France. For them, it was mainly for professional reasons, unlike Arielle, who was disappointed by her experience in Israel.
I didn't find what I was looking for. I didn't find modern Israeli society welcoming. It wasn't like in the kibbutz, where I experienced a real sense of community. Instead, I found a divided society.
Israel keeps no official statistics on citizens returning to France. Estimates put the figure at about 30%, though that's believed to have decreased of late. Author MAREK HALTER says recent trends are worrying, but that this is no time for giving up on home. He's launched an appeal in newspaper Le Monde for French Jews to stay in France.
The Jews came to Strasbourg in the east of the country with the Roman legions. Rebel leaders were deported there after the revolt of 70 AD. So you can't say it's not a country.
It's a message echoed by the new Prime Minister.
I can see why people are worried. I see people leaving, even if it's not always for the same reasons. But it's really important for France and for Jews around the world that French Jews stay in France.
Israel is hoping to attract more than 40,000 French Jews over the next 3 years. Right now, it's a target that looks likely to be met.
Our reporter Christophe Dansette is with us here in the studio. Christophe, thank you for being here and thank you very much for your in some ways disturbing film. The French President François Hollande has expressed his own shock at this crime that's been perpetrated, where your film was shot. How widespread in your experience is the anti-Jewish feeling around France?
We have numbers of crimes that the policeman that we follow, that former policeman that we follow, he has counted about 900 crimes which are threats and violences against Jews, which is twice as much as last year. It's a huge number. It's it's a number like that would be like 2004, which was a very high year of anti-Semitic crime. Racist crimes, or half of all racist crimes, are against Jews in France. So it's big. It's big.
And what do the Jewish organizations here in France say about this situation?
They're very worried. When I talked to some of the heads of the Jewish organizations here in Paris, and they all told me that a new step, and it's taken us to another level with this last crime. But there were all these crimes that we're following in this report. We saw these demonstrations in July that shocked the Jewish community, and now we have this result that some of them leave because of anti-Semitism. Of course, not all go to Israel because of anti-Semitic fear. Some go because of their religious beliefs. Others because they just want to create to go for Zionist reasons.
Or it's an opportunity for business or for pleasure.
Exactly.
All those things. In terms of what we're seeing, though, here in France, I mean, since the troubles all blew up again in Gaza, and each time there is a heightening of the tension in the Middle East, it appears that here in France, it's almost an excuse for some people to target Jews.
It's true. There's a recent poll that was done that shows that the majority of the French population is not anti-Semitic, but there are two groups in which there are still an anti-Semitic prejudice, and these groups are for the far right, the Front National people of Marine Le Pen, and a part of the Muslim community in Paris. Which shows that it's still there, it is there, even if for the majority of the French people, the anti-Semitic prejudices are not present.
Okay, and I must add that both those groups will, of course, deny any anti-Semitic feeling broadly in their support or their communities.
Of course,
but you're citing an actual report, so fair comment to you, and thank you, Christophe, very much, both for your report and for your analysis. Christophe Dansette there, the journalist behind our piece filmed in a suburb of Paris, disturbing revelations about anti-Semitism and, of course, a crime recently committed, highlighting that. You're watching Reporters. Do stay with us here on France 24.